and she hit you with the, babe, I won't get mad, just tell me the truth.
That's essentially what it is, right?
She hit you with that, and then you tell her the truth, and then she flip out on your ass and bust your windows and shit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You be like, but you said you weren't gonna get mad. You know what I'm saying? Like, we had a verbal agreement, right? You know, so you got me to drop my defenses and incriminate myself.
I'm not gonna get mad. Just tell me the truth.
Just tell me the truth, babe. I ain't gonna get mad.
Okay,
you know,
the truth
it be like that.
I fucked that bitch.
Right?
Fuck that bitch. Ah!
You gonna say it like that? You gonna tell her the truth and then make it real gutter when you tell her?
Right.
Welcome to the TMF Podcast, where there are too many feelings. I'm your host, T. Staples, and I'm joined by...
It's your main man, Freddie. I fell asleep, Thomas. My bad. There's Freddie B here, though.
You fell asleep. Dang, you asleep.
Damn, he fell asleep on us.
It's your main man, Sleepy B.
Man, you know it's crazy out in these streets, man. You know when you be doing these drugs and you stop and then.
I heard that. You know what I'm saying?
I'm playing. These are jokes.
Shout out to all the addicts.
Right.
And who else we got?
Hey, what it do? It's your girl Alona Boo.
And down in Tennessee,
it's the Dr. Buddy Lee.
Okay, no superlatives this time.
You're not good
no
today.
No adjectives.
No,
you're not
good.
Dr. today.
I'm just vacationing.
Try to trick
sitting
us,
at home vacationing.
Yeah, he tried to trick us this time. Okay, I see what you're doing. Well, look, for all y'all listening, we're bringing you all these feelings from the comforts of our homes. That's right, 100% remote. So, if you feel our show, show us how you feel by subscribing so you can get notified when the new episodes drop. And if you like what you're hearing, send us a message. Our handles are in the description, people. We love to hear from you. In today's episode, we're going to discuss the big Independence Day. That's right. The day America succeeded from... What? Oh, wait a minute. That already passed. Sorry. We're not discussing that. Actually, we're going to discuss somebody else's freeing themselves or being free. That's right. It's Bill Cosby. Yep. He's been released. And what does this mean for the victims and Cosby? Is he still guilty? We will talk about all of that and more on today's episode. But first, it's time for a moment I like to call the internet Never Lost. Now listen, in this segment, I normally go and find some clips from the interwebs and the interconnectivity and all that other stuff and da-da-da-da. Yeah, you know, you've heard the spiel a million times. But today, because we're talking about such a sensitive topic, I thought, let's play some clips to have some relevance of the topic we're going to discuss. First one is from the man in question himself, Cosby. Let's take a listen.
Because this is not just a black thing. This is for all the people who have been imprisoned wrongfully, regardless of race, color, or creed. Because I met them in there. People who talked about what happened and what they did. And I know there are many liars out there.
Now, if you don't know, Cosby has now been released from prison. That's right. After the Pennsylvania Supreme Court ruled or decided that they would overthrow his conviction. Now, to get a little bit more legal background for my panelists, I'm going to play some clips from TMZ's own Harvey Levin. Take a listen.
Well, it was pretty shocking that not so much that the court threw out the conviction, but they said that he could not be retried ever again. But there is something to understand about this that I think is really important, because a lot of people are talking about this like it's a technicality. It's not. It's not a technicality. So look, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court did not say Bill Cosby is innocent. Everybody needs to kind of hear that. They didn't look at the evidence and say, we don't believe he did what he was found guilty of. They didn't say that at all. What they are dealing with are two issues. The big one is due process. What happened was Andrea Constant, who was the victim in this case, sued Bill Cosby, and she wanted to take his deposition. He was going to invoke his Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination and not testify in the deposition. The DA at the time, Bruce Castor, went to Bill Cosby and his lawyers and said, look, this needs to get resolved. Sit for the deposition, and we won't prosecute you. So if we don't prosecute you, when we give you our word, we're not going to prosecute you. You don't have to worry about your right against self-incrimination. You need to testify. He not only sat for one deposition, he sat for 4. And there were times when he wouldn't answer, and Constand's lawyer went into court and said, force him to, because he's made this deal and there's no self-incrimination. So all of that happened. Bill Cosby said incriminating things in the deposition. And then the next DA said, I'm not going to honor this deal. I'm going to prosecute him. And that's the core of this. The Supreme Court of Pennsylvania said, look, you made a deal. You can't, as a prosecutor, entice somebody into saying things that incriminate them where they don't exercise their Fifth Amendment constitutional right and then go back on your word. And that's why the court said, not only are we going to throw out the conviction, but you can't prosecute him again because of the deal you made. Well, what I'm saying is they're saying that there is a fundamental due process issue here. And essentially, they got him to waive his Fifth Amendment right, which he could have exercised by saying, we won't prosecute you. And they have to live by that deal and honor it. You know, they raised this issue during trial, and the judge rejected it. And so now they have gone through an appeal process, and it eventually reached the Pennsylvania. These things take time. And it reached the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, and it was a divided court. They didn't all agree to this, but the majority did. And ultimately, they came down with their decision today. I mean, he's 83 years old. You know, he's almost blind. And I don't see Bill Cosby, you know, coming out. Although, I don't know. I mean, Bill Cosby actually did, you know, come out during the trial even, and he was, you know, fighting. So I don't know what he's going to do. I mean, I don't think he has a career in Hollywood, but I'm not sure he wants a career in Hollywood. So, I mean, I don't know what he's going to do. I really have no idea. But I really want to underscore something, that this was not a court that said, we are not believing Andrea Constand or anybody else. What they're saying is that all those things aside, there is a legal issue, a fundamental legal issue involving due process where prosecutors made a deal. And that angers a lot of people now, but he wouldn't have testified in the deposition if he invoked the Fifth. And if he invoked the Fifth and never said those things, it's unclear whether they would have been able to prosecute him. So, look, ultimately, everybody kind of heard what happened in the trial. People have formed their opinion. This is not going to change anybody's opinion about whether Bill Cosby did it or not, because the testimony is the testimony. This becomes a constitutional issue of due process, and that is really the sole issue before that court. Well, I will say that in any civil lawsuit now involving anything for which he was prosecuted, and you know, now that he can't be prosecuted again, he can't invoke a Fifth Amendment right because the Pennsylvania Supreme Court has said that there's no jeopardy there. There's no ability to prosecute him for this. Now, I will throw a wild card at you. And I don't know this, but I am not so certain that Bill Cosby is not actually going to go on the offensive here and file a wrongful imprisonment lawsuit against the authorities in that county and in Pennsylvania. I wouldn't count that out. I would not count that out.
Well. 2 questions from our audience. As always, what are your thoughts on the release of Bill Cosby? And was justice served for his accusers? Send us a message. Our handles are in the description below, and let us know how you feel. This has been yours truly, T Staples, in this week's edition of the Internet Never Lost. Catch you next time. All right. Let's see. Let's go in alphabetical order. Alona Boo, Dr. Buddy Lee, Freddie B. That's alphabetical order, right? You heard the clips I played. You know the situation. I know you guys have been watching the news cycle. This is major news. This is big. This is grande. You know, this is big news. You know.
That was spot on.
You know, what are the ramifications that you know of? What have you seen happening in your own individual communities? I mean, have people talk about this?
Honestly, not in my community. Ain't nobody really saying nothing.
Oh, they ain't saying nothing. They don't
no,
care.
they ain't really saying nothing. They just was like, I guess, oh well, you know, like.
Do they feel like justice is not really being served? And is that kind of like that passive aggressive way of just like, oh well, yeah, typical justice
like
system,
we're not
right?
surprised, you know what I'm saying?
Right,
typical, you know, another rich
Okay.
and famous person gets off for doing some shit, you know. That's really just kind of the vibe. Like ain't nobody really surprised, you know what I'm saying? Honestly, I was more surprised at a conviction, to be honest with you.
Why were you more surprised at the conviction?
Just because you had all the elements there. You have rich, you have famous, you have influence, you have all the powers that be, you know, in your corner. And then, you know, you have just the, you know, if you look at history and the way that it has gone, most people, most accusers have come up short. Like there haven't been convictions, you know, like of this magnitude and stuff like that. So I was a little bit more surprised that he was actually convicted.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly was. When they said he was going to jail, I was like, what? You know,
Yeah.
I honestly didn't think that, you know, just because if you look at the history of these types of situations, when you deal with women and sexual harassment in the workplace and, you know, it becomes a he said, she said, you know, my word against yours. Well, he's in the more of a powerful position, you know, so, you know, so he can either, you know, kind of write you a check and, you know, and you poof pile be gone, you know, or you can, you know, take your chances and, you know, go public and, you know, and make your story known as much as possible if anybody's really gonna hear you out, depending on the person that's, you know, in the position of power. So that's why I was a little bit more surprised at his conviction.
You know, it's interesting you were surprised at conviction. I think, you know, I'm going to take this liberty right now to toss back to an old podcast that me and Freddie B actually did together called the God Knows My Heart podcast, where anything goes. Okay. And I take a little listen to this little piece where we actually both, I think Freddie B more clearly stated that, you know, Bill Cosby ain't going to jail. Take a listen.
Yeah, I mean, so like with this whole thing, I don't think Bill's going to see a day of prison. It's, you know, you can hang these things up in court for so long, especially with the money he has. He got an all-star lawyer team. They can hang it up in court to where he live his last days out, you know, just confined to his house, which, you know, obviously probably ain't that bad. And he still can travel. All you gotta do is just, he gotta go through some situations. You gotta send word to people like, hey, I'm gonna travel, put the GPS thing on, then still travel. He probably live for like, you know, he can have this hung up to where it's 4-5 years later before it finally get to the point to where even if he does get prison time, because it's up to 30 years, but he's not gonna get 30 years. Guarantee that. And probably max he would get is a third of that, 10 years. That's max, very max.
10 years probation in the house arrest.
I'm saying, like, if he had to serve prison, he would get max a third of that. That's on the high end. But more than likely, he you know, he would get sentenced to, because he's never had a run-ins with the law. His age, you know, you factor in all the things into this whole case. His age, his criminal record, so on and so forth, and him giving back to schools. His I always mess this word up. Philanthropic. No,
you talking about philanthropic.
Philanthropic.
Yeah.
Philanthropic.
That's when you're saying endeavors, right? Philanthropic.
His philanthropic effort.
Yes.
Endeavors. You factor all that in. He's not going to prison. So, you know, I know a lot of those women, a lot of people who feel like, you know, he's Bill
they celebrate.
Cosby.
They celebrate.
They celebrate right now, but I think it's premature celebration because he's not going to go to prison. Because I mean, I think, you know, most people assume you got convicted, so you're going to jail. But then when we bring it back to reality and we look at it, like, oh, he probably ain't going to go to jail. he gonna be just in his house posted up for another 3-4 years, and he gonna die, and then he gonna be gone, and then Camille probably gonna divorce him, take all the stuff. So then you got to sue Bill Cosby, and then you sue Bill Cosby, ain't nothing there to get. So then you just went through all that and put yourself out there for no reason, which is unfortunate, especially like, you know, for the women who were abused or whatever, you know, if they were abused. I mean, I'm not gonna say they were, because I mean, we know from the court he got convicted, but real life, if it's true or not, we still don't know.
We don't know.
But going by the court, he got convicted. So with that being said, the women who were abused, it's a hollow victory. It's a hollow victory for them, and you know, it's unfortunate for like nobody wins. Not one person except the lawyers.
The attorneys get paid.
The lawyers are the only people that win in this case. The victims and Bill and Camille. Nobody wins. Everybody lost in this case.
So yeah, that again was a podcast we did. God knows my heart, man. You know, shout out to Freddie B. Freddie B on the line. Okay, so Cosby actually did go to jail. but the points that we were making essentially based on and similar to what I don't know why I keep wanting to call Harvey. I don't know why I want to call him Weinstein, but Levin. He talked about due process, right, Freddie B? He talked about that essentially being what's at stake here. This is not. We're not talking about his innocence or guilt, but essentially he was violated from the jump. Before we can even get to innocence or guilt, he was violated. You have any thoughts on that now, Freddie B? 2021, Freddie B?
I mean, well, you know, it's a popular movie that it was a line in the movie, and it said, in court, it's not if you're guilty or innocent, it's what you can prove. So, you know, like anybody who knows anything about court, the legal system, if you talk to enough lawyers, you know, DAs, you know, prosecutors, so on and so forth, it has nothing to do with, if you're innocent or guilty. It's like, what's the case? So if you got a murder case brought against you, you meet with your lawyers, they look at the case and they see like, okay, we can get you off. We can prove based on what they have, the evidence that the prosecution have, we can beat this. We feel strongly about beating this. And if they don't, then they'll tell you like, you know, you can go to trial, but we advise you not to. We advise, and so then it's a negotiation based on the plea deal. They try to negotiate a good plea deal. So that's it. You know, it's all a deal. Like that's the thing with the legal system in America. It's not clean or anything. It's dirty as hell, and it's just about cutting deals. And that's what Cosby did. He shouldn't have went to jail. So I mean, in essence, what I said is still solid and still stand, because like Harvey said, like he can sue Pennsylvania or the district that sent him to jail. He can sue them from wrongful imprisonment because he had cut a deal to where, hey, now once I say this, that I got essentially immunity, and they went past that because of the public outcry of, you know, it was all caught up in the Me Too, and you had that time of reckoning. So it was just that groundswell of he got to go to jail, and then all the other women just came out that this and this, and so then it was like, you know, they felt like they got, you know, people got amped up in ego. People do a lot of stuff in ego, like, oh, I can do this, and they did it, but then his lawyers pulled it up, and then now he out, and then now he can then go back and retroactively sue. So,
and let's just be clear for all the people listening, he was in jail for 2 years, little over 2 years of his 3 years, because he had a 3 to 10 year sentence. So at 3 years, he would have been up to be able to be released anyway. So he served 2/3 of that first part of that sentence, that 3 year piece. So he it ain't like he was sitting at home and then now he's just off, you know, because I think we heard in the clip, you know, there's no chance that they're going to be able to prosecute this again. They're not going to be able to hear this case, try this case again.
Yeah, so it's dead in the water. Yeah.
It's dead now. So all these women that came out, you know, and even though there's supposed to be some pending civil case, like Harvey's saying, yeah, he at this point it doesn't matter if he could say I did it, and it wouldn't matter because at the end of the day you can't you can't charge for it. You know, you can't convict him of it. He literally could come out and say I did all of what y'all thought I did. Yep, I did all.
And on top of that, not just because of the due process, but isn't it also he can't be convicted now because her statute of limitations has passed?
Well, so there's also technicality there because they say that this was filed just in time for the statute of limitations, but this overturning now just totally dismisses that. So it doesn't. So like you said, it is passed. But even if it was not passed, okay. Again, this just that overturning of this now totally
right.
It mutes all the points, right? It
Right,
mutes
exactly.
every point at this point.
Yeah.
So it's like
this whole case. To add to that, this whole case shows why you have to proceed and not in emotion. Everybody got emotional. Everybody came, oh, we got to get, he's a rapist, da 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 da. And it's like, okay, somebody might have did something wrong, but then you got to sit and look at the case, look at stuff, and then make a plan. Like, okay, how we going, if somebody needs to be punished, how we going to go about that? Not just everybody crying out and just tweeting like, get them off and just a knee-jerk reaction. Niggas just reacting. That's all people did, and then now we here. So, like what you said, he could come out like, yeah, nigga, I nut all on him, but he can just come be graphic and just egregious. Yeah. And it's just
at
like,
this point,
damn.
yeah, he can say whatever he want to say, yeah.
Right, and it's just gonna suck now. And then it's just he could really just drive that stake into all the accuser's heart or whatever if that were the case. But and ain't nothing nobody can do because people knee jerk reaction, emotional, getting in emotions. He did this. He's a monster. He's this. And it's like okay, that who cares if he a monster? It's like okay, we gonna do something. What you gonna do about it? Right. Nothing. And then shut up.
Yeah, what are the results, or what is the outcome we're looking to have? I think that's the thing that people have to go back to. So, okay, now I'm gonna ask a tough question to everybody, but before I do, I'm gonna actually, Dr. Butler, let me take your temperature a little bit. Your thoughts on just from what you've seen thus far, his release. You have anything you want to say that you've heard, or any opinions that you kind of agree with or side with when it comes to this?
I mean, a lot of people have asked me, what do I think about it? And I'm just like, I mean, it's the legal system. You have to go with what happened. I mean, he was imprisoned and he wasn't supposed to, based off of, like we said before, based off his previous conversation with the DA. And then, all right, I'm giving it a second for all the shooting behind me.
Buddy Lee, he live in the movie Minister Society.
Right.
No, it's a war zone here. It's way worse than that. Yeah. But just based off of, I mean, everybody's getting mad about it, him being released and everything else. But, I mean, there was an agreement. They broke it. Now they have to honor it. So, I mean, what more can you say? I mean, justice was served. I mean, it's the same as if
So you answered the question I actually was going to ask you, was justice served? And you're saying in this case, yes.
I mean, what can we say? The Supreme Court overturned it. They said, okay, let's release him because of the information that we were provided. We're going to have to release him, or we're going to deal with something way worse than them being mad at us, because now we're dealing with, oh, he can sue us, and then for how long he's been in there, now we got to pay him for it.
Right, that's a big bill when you get up to the Supreme Court. It's one thing to be in the civic, but when you start going up to Supreme Court and then you go, that's the state Supreme Court. That's not even the Supreme Court of the United States, right? That's the state Supreme Court. Then you go to the U.S. Supreme Court, then it could be. But at the same time, if it goes to these next levels, there may be chances of him not necessarily winning, depending on the judges, because like we heard, not everybody was in agreement, but it still was a majority rule which overturned that conviction. So it could have went the other way for him.
Yeah,
this is true, but it didn't, and so we have to support. And I mean, a lot of people don't agree, but I mean, hey, that's what happened. We're gonna have to go along with it and keep it moving, because I mean, we don't see everybody in uproar with cops getting off scot-free of doing things, or judges or politicians. Well, you're going to have to look at this the same exact way.
Okay, I feel you. So I want to get everybody's opinion on some of the things that have been talked about all over social media about how people feel like he's still guilty. Has the recent events changed any of your opinions on his innocence or his guilt? I say innocence because legally, our system, we're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. At this point, they can no longer prove him guilty. So that's the reason why I use the word innocence. Innocence, yeah. Not to place judgment on him, but based on our legal system.
Right. I mean, even before, like I didn't. I mean, like when it comes to my opinion, I know it's like I normally throw away my opinion because it's like if I don't have any substantial stuff to go off of, anything substantiated, like all we had to go off of is the words of them women and his words and the words of the people who know him, the character witnesses and what they saying, and then and then based off, then you take into account what people have said about those times. Like a lot of women have come out and said like, oh, he gave me quaaludes and had sex with me. But then then there's other people who have no dog in the fight who have said that was like kind of like the drug of choice just back then in the 70s. Yeah. People took quaaludes and got in that mood and then did stuff. You know what I mean? So you take that into account, and then you look at, it's so much stuff that, I can't say definitively, because I mean, this something big to say. It's like a nigga rapist. Like for me to say that, like I need some. I can't just go off. 20. I know it might be 20, 30 chicks that said you raped all of them, but then he said he didn't. And then you got people who talked about the times where if you take that into account, then it's like, well, that'll knock out 25. 30 out of y'all 30 will knock out 25 of y'all. So. I mean, I never really developed an opinion personally, like, oh, he's guilty or innocent, because I'm like, I honestly don't even know.
And do you also take into account the comments and statements they both agree on? Like the fact that she came over after the party in the middle of the night, that, she said her head was hurting and she needed something for that. Like these things that they both on the stand agreed on. So I thought it was interesting how both sides tried to use the things that they agree on because they have no facts. So the only thing they could use as information is, well, y'all both say these two things and these two things align. Okay, so that becomes an event. Then these two things align and that becomes an event. You know what I mean? So I think a lot of people form their opinion based on that, right?
Yeah, I think overall, because I am familiar of some cases to where women try to get with dudes and thought like, okay, if I sleep with him and have sex with him, it's going to further my career. I mean, you even see that in different like TV show storylines. That's not far-fetched by any stretch of the imagination. It happens all the time. Women get with men and they think like, okay, I'm going to let him get some. I'm going to let him have sex, and that's going to further my career. And then he get done. He like, oh, bitch, like we just had sex. I'm not doing nothing for you. Then like, oh, will you rape me? We know about that. I'm not saying that happened then, but if I had to really stretch out all the facts, like, did Bill Cosby probably go too far with some of the chicks? Probably. I wouldn't be surprised in the least bit. He Bill Cosby, like kind of what Alona was alluding to earlier, like, he powerful, he the man, he doing his thing. Sometimes, your ego get to your head. You like, man, these bitches, like, come on, you know what it is. I'm Bill Cosby, bitch. Like, lay down. Like, you know what this is. Like, you came over. But then on the flip side, it's like, yeah, we got that. Like, some chicks, like, now, granted, I'm not one to say just because you go over a nigga house at 1 a.m, like you gotta have sex. Like I am all for, a chick. You might initially thought you was gonna have sex. Get over there. Yeah, and that. Yeah, you go over married man house. Great point. But I am all for like, changing your mind. You might initially like, okay, I'm gonna have sex, and you get over like, yeah, nah, I'm good. Cause I've been in a situation where I've changed my mind about having sex with a woman, but me being a man and me having the boy to control it, I can just stop. I'm like, no, I'm good. I don't want to do this no more. So I get it. You know what I mean? But be it as it may, there's still something I wasn't there throughout the whole thing to really know. You know what I mean? Like it's still you went over a married man house, just like you said, Thomas, at this late time, and you had a whole thing in mind, like a whole plan. This premeditated. It's obviously premeditated what you was trying to accomplish, and it didn't go your way. And it's like, sometimes you got to just take your L. Like, you got a body on you. It's all good. Keep it moving. Make better decisions next time.
Mm-hmm. Alona, any opinion on his innocence based on the recent events?
No, I pretty much my opinion pretty much stayed the same.
Mm-hmm. Is he Bill Cosby?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I had to ask.
As my husband said earlier, that's what he was putting in the Jell-O pudding. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, my opinion, it stays the same. For me, he's Bill Cosby, and that's only because of his own words. Like not just based on what she said and me just being like pro Me Too. You know what I'm saying? It's just in that deposition that they did, and I believe it was 2005 for the civil case, he did say, yes, I gave women quaaludes, and like Freddie B said, it was a part of the times. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So part of me is like, it's a part of times I can get that, because we see it nowadays in our own, in our own environment, you know what I'm saying? You growing up, you go clubbing and stuff like that. Some people pop X pills, MDM, like whatever, like whatever floats your boat, you know what I'm saying?
Help you find your lost remote, right?
Yeah, like they rap about it all the time. I pop a Percocet and then I get it in, you know what I'm saying? Like, so, I can see it, being a part of the times. But there was one woman whose testimony, and I believe it was the previous trial, where she said that he put it in her drink, and she was drugged, and and she woke up, and she just had on a t-shirt, and and all this kind of stuff like that. And I'm just like, you already admitted to having the pills and giving them out. It's not that far-fetched to say that you would slip it to somebody unknowingly. It's like you already in the wheelhouse, you know what I'm saying? But so for me, it didn't really change my opinion, you know what I'm saying? He got off on, I know Harvey said it's not necessarily a technicality, but he got off. His due process, was, for lack of a better term, violated when you think about, the whole point of due process in the first place. So but it didn't change my opinion at all. The fact that he is now out.
It was interesting. I was watching an interview. Ironically, Vlad TV had interviewed both of Cosby's first attorneys who were dealing with the case. Even the ones that didn't end up making it to the second case, and they were pretty much saying that the argument of due process was what they were going after the whole time.
Right.
And what I thought was interesting about their conversation was they spoke about the payout that Constance got back in 2006,
$3.38 million.
Yeah, $3.38 million. And they spoke about that, and they said they made it clear that has nothing to do, just because somebody pays somebody out, it has nothing to do with whether he's innocent or guilty. They talked about Cosby's high profile cases where people think it's all this money coming from the estate. They said that's not the truth. They were paid for Cosby's insurance, and insurance is going to want to do the cheapest thing, that they can do, but still get people paid. I think one of the guys said his plan was for $10 million. So basically, that's his pad. That's what he had to spend, $10 million. And of course, all the lawyers are going to try to eat the whole $10 million up if they can, right? And do all this stuff, wiggle, do this, that, and third. But basically, what ended up happening was that 3.3 is what was left in the plan. And they found it more advantageous to go ahead and spend that money than to just keep going down the path, because they had already spent $7 million based on all the attorney fees and whatnot to build the case. And I thought that was kind of interesting. I was listening to that interview of them, and it's funny because I don't know if he did the interview clearly years ago, but he's releasing clips of it now, of course, because taking advantage of the market opportunity. Sorry, Vlad, I'm giving the game away. But that's essentially what you're doing, But
Vlad always do that. You can always count on Vlad to do that. Flashback clip.
Right. I'm giving this. That's the game. But it was good because it was like, oh snap! Like, it was interesting to hear them talk about them representing him and the things that they just thought were just totally absurd with the DAs and the stuff that it just wouldn't happen. And the words are out there. Alana brought up the words. They're already out there, right? The deposition is out there, but they talked about how they were pretty much allowed to get him to say whatever they want him to say. Can we look at those words the same, knowing the deal he had with the DA?
I mean, I would feel like, yeah. You can, because if you were promised immunity, then why at that, at that point, why lie? You know what I'm saying? Like, go ahead, tell your side of the story, whatever, however fucked up it might be, you know what I'm saying? But just go ahead and tell your account of the story if you've been promised immunity in the situation.
That's the whole purpose of immunity.
Exactly.
So you can get all the details that you normally wouldn't have gotten.
That you would not have gotten because without it, honestly, they ain't had no case.
No, not at all.
Well, and that's what they said. Those words are what they used to prosecute him. But at the end of the day, like, because that was violated, he's not sure they would, like you said, they wouldn't even be able to take this trial at all anyway. There was no proof. There was no way to prove. As a matter of fact, the reason why those words even exist is because the DA knew that he was not going to win that case.
No, he wasn't.
He was not going to win that case for Andrea. So let me get something. Okay, we won't prosecute you. Let's just get you. Can you say something?
Right.
I told you it's
So
not
at that
innocent
point,
or
I mean,
guilty,
it's like-
what you can prove.
Exactly, but it's on like a basic human level, it's like you in a relationship and you and your girl, like y'all having a little riff, and she hit you with the babe, I won't get mad, just tell me the truth.
That's essentially what it is, right?
She hit you with that, and then you tell her the truth, and then she flip out on your ass and bust your windows and shit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You be like, but you said you weren't gonna get mad.
You know what I'm saying?
Like we had a verbal agreement,
right?
So you got me to drop my defenses and incriminate myself.
I'm not gonna get mad. Just tell me the truth.
Just tell me the truth. Like, I ain't gonna get mad.
Okay, the truth
it be
is,
like that.
I fucked that bitch.
Right.
You fucked that bitch. Ah!
You ain't gonna say it like that. You gonna tell her the truth and then make it real gutter when you tell her.
Right.
I'll tell the truth. I had sexual intercourse with that young lady.
With that young lady.
That's the Bill. That's the for all y'all who too young. That's the Bill Clinton reference, right?
Yeah, that's the Bill Clinton. Yeah, another Bill that was in trouble.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Okay, so I think we kind of getting we getting all our thoughts about this situation now, and I'm glad y'all are willing to be transparent, lay it out there, and let's just come to the table, But I guess I'll end it off this little round of questions with you on if these events affect your opinion on Bill's innocence, and then I'm gonna move on to another section. But Budley, you want to close us out in this commentary through these events?
I mean, they don't change my opinion. I mean, he said what he had to say, and everything's out in the open. What needs to be public. So, I mean, it's just, I think everybody's just jumping on the bandwagon, and I do know that people are guilty of doing certain things, but when court gets involved, and now it's the court's decision whether you're convicted of this or innocent. I mean, you have to go along with it regardless. I mean, OJ went through it, and everybody was mad about him, but if it don't fit, you must have quit. And
wow.
Same thing with Bill. It's the same thing. Bill, they had an agreement, and
what would Bill's be? What would Bill's be if it ain't the right color pill?
Don't come looking at Bill.
Right. If it ain't the right color pill, you got to seal that deal.
If you can't swallow, then you can't follow.
Right. If you didn't go to sleep, then it wasn't me, B.
Because see, what's going to happen? Look, what's going to happen is with them saying about the drugs and everything else. Well, now somebody's going to be like, "Well, you want to smoke this blunt with me?" Oh, no, can't do that. Go, I might get in trouble for that. Well, you got a headache? Oh, I was going to give you a Tylenol, but yeah, I can't do that either. I mean, it's you don't want it to get worse than what it really is. So, I mean, in this case, I mean, courts have spoken. We got to just accept it and keep it moving.
If your name is Bill, you better watch out for the pill.
Yep.
Well, okay. All right. So, Bill Cosby has, I mean, he has dominated the news cycle, his release. And I'm pretty sure we're going to hear more from him in the future, speaking out against, prison reform and, in a sense, injustice, wrongful imprisonment. I'm pretty sure we're going to hear more from him. He spoke on a radio show a little bit. You heard a little clip from him. But what's interesting is there are a number of people who are in support of his release. And there are a number of people who are against his release. Mm-hmm. And one of the famous people who supported his release would be his longtime TV co-star, or on-screen wife, as they will call it, Felicia Rashad, Claire Huxtable. Claire Huxtable, everybody. And she wrote in a tweet, on June 30th, the day he was released, "A terrible wrong is being righted. A miscarriage of justice is corrected." I'm going to say that again. for all y'all listening, and for my panelists here. A terrible wrong is being righted. A miscarriage of justice is corrected. Insensitive? Is it? Or is that just?
I don't think so.
Is it just a straight statement? How do y'all feel about the statement?
I mean, it's her opinion. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody's entitled to one. You know, like whether you're in support or not in support. You know, I mean, because if I have a problem with her statement, then I have a problem with then I have to have a problem with everybody who's coming out and saying, oh, he should be locked up and he, whatever. Because I can separate like how I feel, about what he's supposed to do, and I can see her statement. You know what I'm saying? That's her work husband. You know what I'm saying? She as far as she knows, she has a totally different relationship with him. So from her opinion, I can see how she would have that type of a statement. Do I 100% agree with it? Not really, but it is what it is.
You brought up a good point about the work husband. I was curious to listen to some of the people when he was in the heat of the fire talk to us about how they felt about working with Bill Cosby. And I found a clip of Malcolm Jamal Warner as he opens up on Larry King. Everybody take a listen to this.
Now you deal with another sad situation. Bill Cosby. How many years were you on that show?
8 years.
How old were you?
13. We started, I was 13.
You said he was a mentor to you. I knew Bill very well, interviewed him many times, spent a lot of time with him. Has this been difficult for you?
Yeah. Because when you watch someone who you know and love, go through what he's going through, it's difficult not to, not to feel something, have some kind of emotional response to, what this person is going through.
Have you spoken to him?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's that been like? I mean, have you lost faith in him? Have you lost feelings for him? And
no.
What are your feelings?
No, not at all. Honestly, my biggest feeling is I feel sad for, just the way this whole, just the way the whole story has come about, and when you've done so much wonderful, so many wonderful things for so much of your career, and after having had such a long path and long journey, you have something like this that you've got to contend with.
You forgive if it's true?
We'll never know. I don't think any of us will never know what the truth is, And you're talking about so many different. There's so many different aspects to, there are all these stories from all these different women. Then there's this one particular case that we're talking about. So there's so many moving parts to it.
What was he like to work with?
It was pretty incredible.
Because?
He's great with people. He has a wonderful sense of being able to set a tone on the set. So people will come to work on our show and be so surprised about the genuine, sincere liking and respect that we all had for each other amongst the cast and crew. There was always just a really great vibe, and that comes down from the top. And people would always talk about how rare that kind of energy is when you walk on, especially a hit show. You've got all these egos involved. And one thing that I learned from Mr. Cosby is he never came to work. If anyone's career warranted coming to work with a big ego, it would be his. And because he never came to work carrying that ego, one of the things that I learned early on, well, if he's not doing it, then there's no reason for me to come to work acting that way.
What legacy has he left with you? You'll always be Theo Huxtable, right?
Sure, yeah. I mean, that show will last forever.
Still shows.
Yeah, and still, that show holds such an importance because it really changed the scope of how Black America and white America and the world, for that matter, saw black people.
I'm going to play another clip. My panelists are not going to be able to hear this clip now, but I'm going to play you guys another clip from D.L. Hughley, who is a long time, I won't say naysayer, but he definitely think Bill did it.
Yeah, he don't like Bill.
Yeah, that's a good way of saying it. So this is for everybody. Take a listen.
Bill Cosby has paid his debt to society in full. The Supreme Court of Pennsylvania ruled today, the highest court in the state ruled that Bill Cosby was right with his assertion that they had already made a deal and that the prosecutors nullified that deal and went after him again. It was the equivalent of double jeopardy. This wasn't about, the trial was never about Bill Cosby's guilt or innocence, whether you believe he did it or not. The deal was in place. And they decided because of public pressure to go after somebody. And there was pressure all around because everybody was talking about how wealthy men were getting away with all these things and powerful men, which is true. And what they decided was to go after somebody that would be easy pickings. They went after the black dude. Now, his guilt or innocence was never what was at hand. It was pretending like society was doing something about it. And my problem then as now is that they go after low-hanging fruit. They pretend to be concerned about the victims, but let powerful people, truly powerful people, get away with things. But if in fact the judicial system is worried about justice being delayed, is worried about justice not being meted out, is worried about victims who have not gotten their day in court, there are some people that they can go after now. Since they've proven that they'll go back in time and kind of subvert a deal and break a deal up and go back in time after people, they've proven they can do that. So since that is your mindset, here are a few people you might want to do that. There's a Supreme Court justice on the stand right now, sitting on the bench right now, who was accused of sexual assault. Go after him. There is a ex-president of the United States that has equally as many allegations of sexual assault as did Mr. Cosby. Go after him. If you're in the mood to go after people who have had justice delayed, who had a deal in place, and you're going back in time to make things right, there are a lot of people. How about the victims of the Rosewood Massacre? You can go back in time and fix them, right? How about the victims of Black Wall Street who testified in front of Congress not even a month and a half ago? Go back and fix them. How about Mrs. Tamir Rice? Her son was slain. Nobody brought them to justice. How about go back in time and fix them? This was never about protecting the victims. This was about succumbing to pressure. This was about the optics of pretending like you were doing something that you were not. This was never about meting out justice. This was never about doing the right thing. This was never about the victims. This is about succumbing to pressure and going after low-hanging fruit. It was about the pretending. It was about confusing activity with accomplishment. And do you know how rare it is for the Supreme Court in any state to agree with a black man, to overturn them over the findings of a prosecutor? You know how hard that is? That clearly there was a deal in place. They blew it up and decided to go after him because he was easy pickings, but not after a president, not after a Supreme Court justice, not after any number of powerful people. But if you're going to go back in time and your concern is allegedly the victims, go after real victims. In the quest for justice, it cannot be and continue to be just us.
Okay, so that was D.L. Hughley. The reason why I played those two clips, because we're about to really dig into Phylicia Rashad, and she had the comment that we led with, and when Alona brought up, the people that loved him or whatever, or working, well, what he was like his own work. Sorry, not people loved him, what he was like to work with. It made me think of that clip, and so I had to play those two pieces for you guys. Now, here's where I want to go with this, because we know she made a statement. It is her opinion. A terrible wrong has been righted. A miscarriage of justice is corrected. But this caused an uproar. Bill's dominated news cycle, and now it's almost like, or as if, Phylicia Rashad is now, having a little spinoff cycle. And this is potentially putting her job at Howard
at risk.
In jeopardy, right? Mm-hmm. So let me ask you guys this before I move on to her, because she did come back and she sent another tweet out. And right now you probably can't find the tweet about her saying a terrible wrong has been righted because it's been taken down. But what I do want to ask is, should Phylicia Rashad be forced to step down as the dean of the College of Fine Arts at Howard University?
Hell no.
Based on the tweet you heard me say.
Hell no.
No.
Based on that tweet, no. I mean, she has a right to her opinion. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, that's her work husband. That's, I'm sure she considers him to be a really good friend, if probably like a brother or something. So, I mean, now do I feel like she should have tweeted that? Not necessarily, given, given her position and, and everything like that. But I don't think she should necessarily lose her job over it.
Do you guys know what the dean's responsibility is for Howard of that particular college?
Yeah, I read it somewhere, but I didn't forget it.
Okay, well, I'll give you a quick
not much.
a blurb. The job description for her current role as dean calls for 15 years of progressively responsible experience in management as well as political adaptness. Now, I think the word is adeptness, but I said adaptness, but I think you pronounce that adeptness.
Yes, it is.
So, experience in management as well as political adeptness and good judgment. It calls for excellence, oral and communication skills, the ability to relate well to the college's diverse constituencies, and the inclination to be visible spokesperson for the college. Now, that is the blanket. That's that first paragraph when you read your job description, right? That's the blanket, and then it dives deeper into what a responsible employee for Title IX, representative of that, what they're expected to do. Which, of course, Title IX talks about sexual harassment and assault. Being somebody who's going to make sure that if you hear about these incidences that you do what's called mandatory reports on them. So, so that is also included. Hearing what her job responsibilities are, on top of that, hiring faculty, attracting students, and working with the community, which includes raising funds to support the work of her particular college and the university at large. Does that now change your thoughts on whether she should lose her job or not?
Nope.
No.
Okay.
I mean, because I already knew she's a paid spokesperson for Howard. They hired her because she's Felicia Rashad. She's a notable person, dean of was she dean of arts and sciences or communications? What is it?
Yes, dean of fine arts.
Fine arts, right? So that's she is fine arts. Especially when it comes to black people, Howard, top black school. She just a spokesperson. She's just there to attract people to come to Howard. And everything in there is once you being politically adept, that means being political. When you political, that means you don't offend too many people, so on and so forth. I think with her tweet, when I read it and as I understood it, because I'm looking at the Bill Cosby cases, now we at two different pieces. We at, did he rape the women? And then you got the miscarriage, the actual, the false imprisonment. They had a deal and they reneged on their deal.
Right.
The justice system. And so that's how I understand it. And so reading her tweet, it's hard to, you can't read that tweet and know what she meant in her heart.
Right.
You can't. You know what I mean? And so with that tweet, she could be saying a wrong has been righted. She knows the particulars about the case because she know Bill. I'm pretty sure she got Bill on the warm line. So. Right. She probably. I'm sure
you gotta
she probably
explain the warm
is
line for the people. You got to explain the warm line for the
the warm line. When you get famous and you get big time, you got the warm line. That means you can call the person they gonna pick right up. Because when people get that big and famous, they want to got two phones like Kevin Gates, and you might have a whole line and you call and they never pick up. You just gotta leave a message and then they get back to you at their earliest convenience whenever they want to. But if you got the warm line, you call, they gonna pick. You got they straight call. You got the bat line, the bat phone. Sometimes they call it. But yeah, I'm sure she knew about the deal, and then he still got in prison. Hold on, you had you had immunity. You shouldn't have went to jail, and I think that's important because that sets a bad precedent, and especially somebody like Bill Cosby that just based off public, the what's the term I use in another I'm drawing a blank the witch hunt. People can just go Donald and Trump just raise they right. People can raise their stakes get the witch or whatever. And then we live in an echo chamber because you got Twitter, Facebook stuff can go viral that fast that people want you. Then okay, we made this whole deal. You're not supposed to be touched. But psych your mind, your booty shine. Come on and go to prison. Like, nah, you can't. Because if that can happen to Bill Gates, nigga, like, just imagine you just a regular Joe out here. Like, you gonna get lynched. You gonna get killed. So you can't set that precedent to where we can go down that slippery slope. So the justice of actually how it works, you got to uphold that. Now, if he raped him or not, like, we'll never know that. That's honestly, you know, just to keep it 100% and keep it a buck with you, that's dead. Like, we'll never know. Everybody gonna have their opinion, and opinions are like booty holes. Everybody got one and it stinks.
Right. That's what Michael Jamal Warner was saying. Right. We would never know. Innocent. Yeah.
Nobody will know, and so that just is what it is. And people, honestly, you gotta just let that go. If he raped him or not or whatever, people gotta just let it go at the end of the day, because it's done and over. There's no point in crying over spilled milk, as they say. Like, it's spilled on the ground, you can't pick that back up and put that back in the jar. It's done. You know what I mean? No double jeopardy. Is over.
Yeah, it really is over. It really is over. So you all, although have different opinions about his innocence or guilt, have said, you know, she should not lose her job for her statement. Here's the second statement that comes out. But before I read the second statement she brought out, Janet Hubert, do you know who this is? Y'all remember her?
Yeah, from
Janet Hubert. Ain't that the first mom from Fresh Prince?
Yeah,
yes.
dark skin and
Yes.
Yeah.
She tweeted, Felicia, what are you thinking? I don't know you, but to say this was terribly wrong, everyone knew what he was doing back then. How could you not? Get your umbrella, sister. Here comes the shit shower. I'm outraged that he has been released. Yes, he is an old ass guilty man. She tweets this. And then Howard tweets their response. Personal positions of university leadership do not reflect Howard University's policies. And then this comes out from Felicia Rashad. I fully support survivors of sexual assault coming forward. My post was in no way intended to be insensitive to their truth. Personally, I know from friends and family that such abuse has lifelong residual effects. My heartfelt wish is for healing. What are y'all thoughts?
I think dark-skinned Aunt Viv, she's like a form of simping. I think that's a form of simping, like, cause she did, I don't know if y'all saw the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air reunion that they had on, what was it, HBO, I can't remember, but she talked about it, and obviously Will did something to her and got her blacklisted, whitelisted, or whatever, to where she couldn't work, and she was hurt about that, and she she's a fiery type woman, and it was able to be projected that she was hard to work with, which is very unfortunate that that happened, and I'm like, even with that, we don't know if that was the case. It seemed like that was the case, because when Will was talking to her, he was, but Will could have just been trying to be classy and not debate her on that. But if I had to guess, I would say Will kind of put that out there and hurt her career. Now it's kind of been, she's been able to talk face to face with Will. I still think like she trying to get back to working. You know what I mean? Because she's still young enough to where she could do some stuff. So I think she like trying to ride a wave, which unfortunately that's what people do on social media. There's a wave, and people try to be like SJW, social justice warriors, and ride a particular wave, and like, hey guys, look at me. Like, see, I'm on y'all side. I'm fighting for y'all. Like, yeah. So y'all start. Help, hopefully I can trend and I can do that. Like, that was unnecessary because she cast an aspersion on Felicia Rashad. Like I said, with what Felicia said, you don't know if she's talking about the people that got raped, if she believed that Bill is innocent, or if she's talking about the actual justice miscarriage meant. So we don't know, because we don't know where she was coming from. You know what I mean? People assumed, you might have assumed that she's talking about Bill is innocent, because you might assume that because other people explicitly said, yes, Bill out, see, he actually innocent, and because they don't know the issues of the case or whatever. But Felicia know the issues of the case. That's like her and Bill are like close. They worked together for all them years. She know the issues. She ain't Joe Blow out here. So dark skin and Viv, like that was like pointless. She trying to win brownie points with us, and I'm good on that. So yeah.
Well, shout out to Howard University. The College of Fine Arts is soon to be named. I'm not sure when they're going to do it. By the alumnus, it's going to be named Chadwick Boseman, or named after him at some point in time. Yeah. Soon. Let's hope that she's still there when that happens. It would be right. It would be right because of what she's contributed in her career. And it is just unfortunate today that statements, even if you do make a mistake and say the wrong thing, in her case, I think she was just saying what she really thought and what she really felt. It's unfortunate that it's so easy for people to be just dismissed based on a few statements, and your actions are totally overlooked. So, and she's done so much good for many communities. But words hurt too. Words can lead to a negative action. So we have to be careful with our words. I honestly looked at her statement and didn't think there was anything wrong with her statement, but it's the same time, you hear people who are offended by it. It's obvious that they read too deep into it, or they read into it in the way that they felt.
Yeah, I mean, they interpret it, because everybody has their own perception, of what the statement could mean. Like Freddie B said, we don't know exactly where her heart was when she put the statement out.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's just based on your perception, based on it's like you're going to perceive it depending on what your opinion of Bill Cosby is.
Yeah.
So if you believe guilty, then you're going to read that statement and say that, oh, she's happy that he's been vindicated in some, in some fashion. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
And like you said, you used the correct term, I believe there is, if you believe. What do you believe? Because at this point, that's all you're doing. We don't have no evidence. We don't have nothing to go off of but their statements. So do you believe what he said? Actually, I found out, I was reading some of the court documents that he actually said that he participated in consensual sex. So it really was, and I think Freddie B, you may have said this earlier in this episode, it was his word versus her word. That's literally what it was. It was, she said.
And that's what most of these type of cases are. It's your word versus mine.
Yeah. So, okay. What does this decision mean for the survivors of sexual assault? Does this mean anything for those who, and his accusers too? Does it, because we don't know if they were sexually assaulted. Does this mean anything?
I mean, I think they personally feel, what I'm saying, like there was an injustice, done. And what it does for the whole Me Too movement, I feel like it might be sort of a slight setback. It already took a lot for people to come forward with their stories and everything like that. It was one thing to, admit to, to the people that's closest to you and to maybe your therapist or your doctor or somebody, that you've been somehow sexually assaulted, but to come out publicly, and then face that possible backlash from that person that's in a more powerful position.
Yeah.
I think it's going to make people a little bit more hesitant, what I'm saying, to come out.
I hear what you're saying, Alona. Why does this, because I'm not understanding why this makes people hesitant. Why this particular decision brought by the Supreme Court based on, the mishandling of a deposition.
Yep.
Would make people more fearful, because it would seem to me that if anything, it's neutralized, because you still got a Harvey Weinstein that's in prison. You still got, Les Mouvez, they had to step down. You still have all these people. You got, okay, this one, I'm not going to say this one got away, but this was.
But to some people, that's how it feels. You know what I'm saying? To some people, that's how it feels. It feels like, oh, they found a loophole. Like there was, something in a matrix.
But you know what? And I think it's funny because you just said that, because how is it a loophole when that was their argument from the start?
When that was the original argument. You know what I'm saying?
You're all violating due process.
And that's what you got to do. What Freddie B says all the times, get out your feelings.
Okay.
And get into your head. You know what I'm saying?
Don't have too many feelings.
Don't have too many feelings on this one. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't get your feelings hurt, when it comes to this one, especially if you're, pro, Bill Cosby. Or, if you feel that he is guilty, this one kind of hurts. You know what I'm saying? Because, and although point blank period. His due process was let's just say it was fucked up. You know what I'm saying? They like Freddie B said earlier, they reneged on a verbal agreement, that they had, got this man to drop his defenses, say his portion where he basically incriminated himself, and then they used it against him in a criminal court. So, and when you just think about it logically, would you want that to be done to you, or somebody that that you love, or that somebody that that's going through a similar situation, whether it's whether it's sexual assault, or whether it's regular battery, or whether it's a murder conviction, whatever the case is, doesn't matter. Everybody is given everybody has the right to due process.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, and if that's violated, and, and if they just were to overlook that violation, then we have a big issue. Right. Within the legal system, because that's going to set a precedent for how people are going to move forward. You know what I'm saying? Like that, I can see that being a tactic on First 48. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh yeah, we're going to get you immunity. You know what I'm saying? If you just tell us what happened. You know how they be finagling people on First 48? Yep. Just tell us your side. Just tell us your story. And they basically coax it out of you. Yes. And then they say, all right, turn around, put your hands behind your back. Now you under arrest. And you like, what the fuck? Like, so yeah, I mean, preach. Get you got to get out your feelings on this one. Yeah. This one, you got to get out your feelings on this one. It is what it is. To the people who are pro Me Too. Don't get me wrong, I'm pro Me Too. I'm an advocate for anybody, that's that's going through sexual assault, yes, tell your story, all of that. I'm not trying to mute nobody. Like, tell your truth, everybody. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. So but yeah, this one, for some of those, I can see how this would sting a little bit. That's just, that's
what
are they going to
do to those? What are they going to do to those people when they lie? What's
exactly
the vindication on that? Where's that same energy that was accusing the person? Now, where's that same energy when the actually what you told was a lie?
Which was a lie.
You got somebody convicted of something, and now they sitting in jail, and then they finally get released. I mean,
yeah, they don't have the same energy. Matter of fact, and sometimes those people's lives are ruined. That's it for them. Their lives are ruined.
Exactly.
But it's something you said that was very interesting, because to look at it with that lens, and then look back at Felicia Rashad's tweet, she is a woman of refinement, a woman of distinction, and she could have been making a very educated tweet that was just taken all out of context. You know what I mean? Just from even what you were just saying. So it's just like you was preaching, and I was like, yes, pass the plate. With the music. I wish I had some preacher music. No. It's like I was stopping around it. Okay. So hopefully this will not prevent people from coming forward if you have been a victim of any type of sexual harassment, assault, or battery.
That is the hope,
That's the hope.
That's the hope, But I could definitely see how it could, add just an extra level of hesitation. You know what I'm saying? But that definitely is the hope.
Yeah, I hope so. Woo, man. Woo, I mean, listen, I could go on. I don't know if y'all. I think she made me preach. I'm ready for her to pass the plate. I was, the preacher said, I feel better now. I feel better now.
All hearts and minds clear. Look, all hearts and minds clear.
Right. And listen, Freddie B has said it too earlier. The show is dead in the water. I mean, you can't prosecute him again.
No.
He can come out and say whatever.
It's a wrap
at this point. So yeah. So let's just hope that from this point forward, that as the dust settles on this, that we all take from what we may and learn and grow and be better. And the people who need healing, I really hope that you guys heeded the words of Felicia Rashad's second tweet, and you do. Let's all heal. If that's her heartfelt wish, take that and let's heal. How y'all feel? Y'all feel good?
I feel good. I'm all clear.
All right, it seems we got a whole lot of feelings about this, but this Bill Cosby situation. Look, let us know how you feel about Bill Cosby's release, and our handles in the description below. Like, share, subscribe. Send us a message. We love to hear your feedback. I've been here with
Shemaine Man Freddie B. I'm still asleep though.
Nah,
He's
you
still
gotta
asleep, though.
you better be woke now. After this show, you got to be woke, boy. You got to be woke, baby. Who else we got?
Hey, it's your girl Alona Boo.
See, I told y'all she was gonna boo y'all. You see what I did there? I brought it back from the beginning, baby. And who else we got down in Tennessee?
We got the informed Dr. Buddy Lee.
I appreciate that.
He's informed
And
now.
now
Won't he do it?
Yes, he will. Where the plate at? Where is the plate? And look, I'm yours truly, T Staples. And make sure you catch us next time, where there are too many feelings. Peace.